off to the races. I guess I should probably wear a hat, or if I'm not wearing a hat, I'm going to at least put my hair in a ponytail. So
There you go.
And I zoomed out because apparently my buddy was like, "Dude, your composition on your video for me apparently was like, I guess I was very not in scope or something. Not very."
But I was.
Well, it was more like he was saying that something about the way I had my video like set up, it made me look very weird. And now I'm just saying, hey, I'm going to zoom out, even though technically I guess my backdrop doesn't cover the whole thing. I'm just experimenting to the
Oh my God! What the fuck is all that all about?
that's what I'm saying. I need to not do that.
Oh my God! That was.
Oh God. I just can't touch it apparently. So
Yeah, don't touch the mic. I guess
yeah,
that's it,
don't
right?
don't
That's
touch the mic. All right, so
All right.
you said
Check
you
this
wanted
out.
to show me something. So am I
Yeah.
prepared to be amazed?
Yes, I would say so. So I opened one box.
Okay,
I had $40 in store credit from getting top 4 at 2 armories 2 weeks ago,
Okay.
and I used that store credit to buy a box of the Hunted.
Okay. Well,
Open up a
our
box.
store doesn't even have any left. That's impressive. Yours had
Oh.
some.
Funny enough, apparently our store was not supposed to be selling anymore. I purchased a box because the people who don't play Flesh and Blood did not understand that, and so
Not selling anymore. What do you just for like to be able to use it for like drafting purposes and stuff?
Yeah, for pack pricing and stuff like that, because they have an RTN coming up.
Yep.
And
Okay,
so
that's important.
They need to have that stuff, and so I was like, okay. But I ended up being able to buy a box, thankfully on that end. But I bought a box previously as well. This is not the contents of that box, but I was owed a buy a box promo. I have 2 cool rainbow foil arachnes from the
Nice.
BioBox promos. So excited to get those. But
I
more
do not have
importantly-
any of those buy a box promos. That is not something I currently have in my inventory.
Yeah, they're pretty. They're pretty cards, I gotta say. Okay, so let me just get these in order of like craziest to least craziest.
Well, the craziest thing, I'll give you my crazy. This is all I got. I got to go to an armory, and I got my first gem pack. Woot! It's still sealed because I
Nice.
don't think
Let's
I'm
go.
not opening that one. I sold myself and keeping it sealed. Now the rest of them I want to open. So, all right, I'm ready for your juiciness. So what do we got?
Okay, so obviously we're just taking a quick look here at some of the Majestics we got. I got a Prowess of Agility, a Spurlock, a Throw Dagger, and a Hunt's End. All just non-foil, right? Just simple box things,
Good,
right?
good
Couple
stuff.
bucks here
Good
and there.
Majestics. Yeah.
I pulled a Rainbow Foil Oath of Loyalty, which currently is going for like $20.
Oh yeah. That's the. So we'll come back to that because so I have some. I want to talk about the armory experience and some new deck techs and stuff. So yeah, that's in Fang. A lot of people are running that right now.
Yeah, Fang and Syndra. Syndra runs that one as well. It's a very good card. We also pulled a Kabuto, the legendary headpiece for Warrior.
Sweet. That's
So
awesome.
That's pretty cool.
It's a
Found out
pretty
this was
juicy
like $20.
box. Hey,
Not bad, right?
Every little
So pretty
amount
good.
adds up.
And then we also pulled the extended cold foil version in the same box.
Whoa, fancy.
So pretty cool stuff. And we also pulled a Marvel Arachne Trapdoor.
But wait, there's wait. That card isn't that like $300 or $400 right now?
No, this is like $50 right now. The I think Marionette, the like actual hero of Arachne, is going for a lot more, but I think it's just an inflated price right now.
Okay.
But we did get the Arachne Trapdoor. Fun story about this. Monday, I opened this box yesterday, Wednesday. Monday traded my original copy that I opened during pre-release to another local, and because they were looking to max rarity out their Arachne deck, and I said, yeah, sure, whatever, like not the end of the world. I'd rather get stuff for like other decks I might be looking to build. And I pulled this in the next box. So obviously, World wants me to keep that Arachne.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm waiting to play the Arachne. Oh, you got one of those. Dang.
Shelter.
And it's in the same box?
In the same box. We're still all one box.
We're still
All this is
going.
all one box.
So
All
is
this
this part of the collation thing people have been talking about? Because there's like some boxes that were like, but were these Belgium?
These We're Belgium, yes.
Yeah,
This is a Belgium box.
I've heard tell that there are certain Belgian boxes that just have like stacked. They're just like
So
insane.
you want to talk about stacked? Not only did I get the Shelter, 2 legendaries, and a Marvel Arachne, but I also got the extended art
Jesus.
rainbow foil version of Shelter
So
in the same
all
box.
the stuff that was in the box I opened, which I sent you a photo of, I got 6 Majestics in my box. That was it. Like that is the yin to the yang, folks. That.
Yeah. I opened. I spent $65 after tax on my box of the Hunted after store credit, and I pulled $460 worth of value out of one box.
I envy you, but I also
That is
2 middle finger salutes, sir.
Yeah, it is insane. Like, I shit you not, it was so funny because I was opening it and like our TO is like, he's not normally not playing in the event, so I bring him over because I'm just like, hey, whatever, come crack packs with me. And he cracks open the Shelter because he's going through and he sees the generic border and the 1 cost, and he's like, you know what this is, my man? It's a Shelter. You got a Shelter. And I was like, that's awesome. And so he pulls it, is just like, dang, that's so cool. I love seeing that. And then he proceeds to just like casually be opening up packs, and then he pulls the extended art Shelter and he's like, are you freaking serious? Like, it's the most insane box I've ever seen. In my life.
Well, and frankly, it's interesting, right? Because there's a component to this that I don't want to say this is a bad thing. I haven't heard anybody really complain too much about it, but I will say that I have noticed that there have been some boxes that when we were at pre-release, certain parts of the table got some real fancy, crazy stuff, and other parts of the table got basically, it was barren, no Majestics at all. The box had basically nothing, and we even had a mix in our pre-release between Japanese and Belgian print. We had half the table had a box of Japanese, our side of the table had a Belgian box, but then the other table had another Belgian box. The other table had like, multiple Marvels and other stuff. Like they had the box like you had. My box on our area when we split it, I did get the cold foil. I think it was a common cold foil, but like there were basically no Majestic. It was just nothing. And it was like, wow, I can't believe, I was like, did anybody get anything in the box? Like, what's going on here? It was just such a like, okay, something ain't right. And I don't know why, but yeah. So
it's an interesting thing. I feel like there's definitely, I'm not sure how allocation is all set up with the packs. I know that,
well, I think you typically get 6 to 8 Majestics in a box on average. I think
that's what I got. I mean, outside of them being like extendeds, I mean, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Majestics, technically 6 if you count Shelter, and then like the special slots are the EA, the cold foil, and the Marvel, and then another legendary. So
well, you definitely got some pretty solid, stuff, which is great. Now we had a couple of really banger hits. One of the guys, which is actually the other half of the box that we ended up opening, talking about the stuff. He hit the cold foil reflexers. Nice. There was a guy during the armory, which I'm going to circle and talk about the armory here in a little bit, but he was just wanting to crack packs, and he had originally brought in a box of Uprising, and he's like, I'm buying this box because I really need to hit a certain card, and we're like, why don't you just buy singles? Like, been easier. Well, this dude not only cracked a Marvel Dragon in the box, but he hit the cold foil Tiger Stripe Shudos that he really needed. And I was just like, you got to be kidding me that you managed to knock both those out of the park. So it was just one of these things. I was just flabbergasted when I was like, really? How the heck did you manage to pull all that off? I was just like, I talk about all the legendaries you could have hit, and you happened to hit it. And not only did you get the not rainbow foil, you hit the freaking cold foil. And I'm like, slow claps for you. And then, obviously gambler's going to gamble, right? But like, he was like, why don't you go buy packs? I'm like, dude, every time I open something, like I get 10 cents worth of stuff. Like, it's just, I do not have the magic hands. Like, I just do not. So I do not partake in the, like I'll buy packs here and there, but like, I don't like, oh, hey, look, here's a Marvel, or, oh, hey, look, it's like, I just got to buy the cards. Like I am not statistically the person opening the thing. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. It's one of those things where you just kind of learn that you might not have the hands for it. I just like, I like opening it, and I don't ever like, expect an insane amount out of my boxes, and I think that's why
I think that's going to be
whenever I get good things, I'm happy.
that's going to be a thing going forward. Is there's the I want to talk about some stuff this week. Oh, by the way, welcome to Geek Speak episode number 35. Yeah, that's right. Here we go. Yeah, here for Alex and his fantastic hits over there. Good job, sir. You got the magic fingers. I'm moving my mountain of binders out of the way so I can see the monitor better. So I can actually, there. Now I got a clear shot. Perfect. I'm on that monitor, and that monitor. You're only on that monitor over there, which is kind of ridiculous. Yeah. I need to work out a better solution. I need to actually find a way to pipe you from there to here so that I can just look straight and be like, hey, I'm having a conversation with you as a person. So a couple interesting things. How many of the armories have you been to with the new gym packs yet?
I have been to. They came out on the 1st, right? Hold on.
So we're about 2 weeks into it.
I've had four armories.
So have you gotten a gym pack at each one of those?
I have, yes.
So how at your armories is it more than what they would say allocated about 12 per armory? Do you typically have more than 12?
Yep, we have more than 12.
Ah, okay. So the armory that I went to, we didn't have a full 12, but basically the idea there was everybody gets one, and then I guess the winner or the top place got two. And I thought that was pretty unique to be able to kind of, still give a little bit of competitive thing, but also still everybody gets something, right? Which honestly brought me back to an armory, right? Like I came out to the armory after already driving a half hour to where I'm going because I was already a half hour north. So I drove an hour to get there because technically 30 minutes from the north side, 30 minutes from my house, and 30 minutes from my house down to where I was at. So like, I think if I'm going to get something for going and know I'm going to get something, I'm more likely to actually go out and participate, which is, I guess it sounds kind of crazy, but like, I mean, I enjoy playing, don't get me wrong. I was playing my Dash IO. I just had literally used the Armory deck. So I basically lost every single game, but it was fun. I was almost able to max V twice in one turn. I didn't. I got to max V once. But I did get to play a mirror match against a Dash deck. We had somebody on Kano that was just doing Kano tricks, and that was kind of crazy. We had two Fangs. That was kind of fun. There was a KO. I think KO was in there for a little bit. That was I think we had 6 people, so it really wasn't even kind of a homebody style of event, which was kind of pleasant. And we had a lot of conversations around talking about deck techs, and I sent you a link. There's a gentleman that kind of made. I've been really wanting to build a Dishonor deck, and he had a Dishonor Katsu build. And this, I believe, is either a fairly exact representation of what he had, or a little. I might have changed 1 or 2 cards here. I don't actually remember. I kind of somebody sent me a link to a Fabry list, and then I took this and I kind of was making my own variation of it. But I discovered that I have like 95% of this already. So congrats to me for being able to actually build it. The things that I am missing, which is kind of quintessential apparently, is some of the newer like Rosetta cards. I do not have, it appears to be the Gust Wave of the Second Wind and Prismatic Ley Lines, which I don't know why I don't have those, but I think both of them are from Rosetta, so must have really missed out on getting those. But I wanted to talk to you about some of the, I guess, ninja line concepts, because as I dove a little bit further in, and I typically play mech, I noticed that when you start looking at combo, there are like 6 or 7 different builds that you could do just with combo cards. Because it seems like there are a variety of combo options that exist. And I kind of was wanting to get your take on one, maybe this current deck build, because this gentleman's secret tech that he was sharing with me was even bigger than that, which I think is pretty freaking cool, because having that in there with that opt, especially with combo, right, lets you pretty much set you up to dig and get the combo piece, so you could basically try and dishonor very quickly, which probably would change the whole game. But like, I'm not a ninja main, so like I don't know much about this, but it looks really cool. I mean, there's an absolute metric ton of red in this deck too.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a lot when it comes to ninja in general, but like more specifically with combo, I feel like with there being so many different ways to play the deck, it's really about like what's the more, if you're like playing competitively, what's the more efficient line to be able to disrupt or, you know, present an X amount of damage or whatever. And it's why a lot of people tend to focus a lot more on the surging line, because surging strike into Gust Wave threatens card draw, which is really good in Flesh and Blood, believe it or not. But more specifically, back when Bonds of Ancestry was a card that was legal for play in Classic Constructed, that was the way you dishonored people. Is you went Descendant Gustwave, Bonds of Ancestry, dishonor, and that was the whole thing. But now, because Bonds of Ancestry is no longer a card that you can play in Classic Constructed, that Bonds of Ancestry line it was replaced with Retrace the Past, which effectively just lets you say whatever combo piece you're missing in your line, just name it.
Yeah.
And it helps in that situation, which is really good if you're trying to do things like crane dance builds or head jab builds, or you wanted to do twin twister builds or leg tap builds, like whatever you wanted to do. Tons of different options in those regards. And I feel like the Gust Wave build has certainly been a lot more favored.
I just want to try to dishonor like turn 1 or turn 2. Like that would be, yeah, I don't know if there's a way to do it, but I think it'd be really cool to try to like early game dishonor.
I mean, like, don't get me wrong, you probably could, but I will let you know that I think just about any individual who is playing against a Katsu nowadays, now that we know that dishonor is back on the menu, is just going to, I'm just going to take all of the front part of your damage to just then block dishonor.
So how can I make dishonor unblockable or get a part of it unblockable? Is there an option to be able to do that?
No, essentially what you would have to do is you have to pump it up like pretty high. So in order to do that, you'd have to play things like Razor Reflex at the right time. You'd have to make sure to have like an attack reaction in a very like niche specific way, because dishonor gets +2 if Bonds of Ancestry was the last attack. So it's a 0 for 4. That's what it is, right? It's coming in for 4. And so most people will have either a D-React or they'll block with 3 and then block with the D-React, because you're usually only going to put one attack reaction. Because if you have to think about this entire line that's happening, right? Mm-hmm. You have to play Surging Strike, and then you have to
play... Which is one card.
Right. Then you have to play Surging Strike, and then you have to play Descendant Gust Wave, and then you have to play Retrace the Past, and then you can play Dishonor.
Which is already 4 cards.
Correct. It's 4 cards, and it would have cost you, if you were playing Surging Strike, right, you could have, you know, pitching a blue in hand to play a Surging Strike from Arsenal is like the only thing that you'd need to do to pitch, because everything else is going to cost like nothing.
So what if you try to set this up for a wombo combo kind of thing where you have like an E-pot on stack, like on the board, or do a setup where it's like you're destined to be like, my only goal is to smack you with Dishonor. Like, it sounds stupid, but like I'm wondering if there's an option to make that work in that capacity.
If you can threaten your opponent in a way in which they have to block the first 3 attacks that are coming in before Dishonor, it will make it significantly harder for them to block Dishonor, right? And so, like, you know, if you come in with a, you know, let's say you got a blue in hand, Surging Strike in Arsenal, you have Descendant Gust Wave, Retrace the Pass, and Dishonor in hand, right? So 3 cards, a blue, and a Surging Strike in Arsenal. That's like the max you have available to you in those regards, outside of Mask of Momentum. If you hit with Mask of Momentum on any of these. So being able to set up that combo is so incredibly like niche. But if you came in for Surging Strike for 5, which hurts, mind you, you then come in for a Descendant Gust Wave for 5, which hurts, and then you come in for a Retrace the Past for 4, which hurts, I would have to have taken 14 damage on the face to guarantee that your Dishonor does not hit me. And like, I could give up maybe 2 cards, and if I have armor up, it's even easier for me to just give up like a couple of cards onto the combo. But the other thing is, if you don't have the combo naturally, you have to tutor for it. So if I block out parts of your combo early and you have to get rid of a card in your hand in order for you to go get what you need, then you might not be able to get the full combo.
Is there a way to use, like, I've been really digging the whole Everfest stuff. I've been really trying to get my full play set of 3, 3, and 3 of each of the items, but like Talisman of Recompense, is there any way to gain a single resource in Katsu? Then it would turn to 3, which is kind of like having a better version of an E-pot, or is that not?
Well, it's not really the resources that are the problem. It's quite literally the amount of cards it takes in order for you to fully get a Dishonor line off. Because in order for, like I said, like in order for you to do that, in order for you to play Dishonor, it quite literally says when this hits a hero, if you control Surging Strike, so one of your attacks on your chain link has to be a Surging Strike, which costs 2 resources.
And you can't have closed can't have closed the combat chain during this either.
Correct. So yeah, so it would be Surging Strike, which costs 2. Your Descending Gust Wave costs 0 because it'll cost 0 and get +2 because you played Surging Strike prior to it.
Yep.
And then Bonds of Ancestry is Retrace the Past, which is a 0-cost blue card that comes in for 4 because if it attacks, if a card with Gust Wave in its name was the last attack this combat chain, which would have been Descending Gust Wave, you name a card and then it gets that name +2 and go again. So the Retrace the Past becomes Bonds of Ancestry. You name Bonds of Ancestry, it becomes a 0 for 4 with go again. And that's just how it is. So you have to give up if you're able to make those resources in your hand or through like a Vest of the First Fist or something, right? That's a different thing. Because then you can just like play something to get a Vest of the First Fist or something and make it work.
Well, I was gonna say I had Hardened Crosstrap as one of my options,
which is also good. Hardened Crosstrap will get you free. It'll make your Surging Strike free.
Yeah, exactly. Right? That's kind of my save the resource. It's not really gain resource; it's save the resource. But potato.
And even still, even if that is the case, right, and you utilize it to make Surging Strike free, you still have to remember that if you want Dishonor to hit, you need to make sure that it doesn't just come in for 4. So if you have things like you're running things like Breaking Scales. Breaking Scales can give +1 to Dishonor because it's a combo card. So it could come in for 5. But it's not coming in for anything more than that because it looks like you've got Ancestral Empowerments, but your opponent's probably going to at least block 6. You don't have any other things in your in the deck here that say pump up your card by +3 or +4 or anything of the sort.
Sure.
It's going to come in for 5 or 6. Now, of course, like I said, that is the trade-off, though. The trade-off is that I had to block inefficiently and take like 14 damage on my turn in order for me to make sure that I got to keep my hero power, which is not good value, especially if you do it twice. I mean, if I have to take 28 points of damage in order for you to not dishonor me, like I'm already pretty low on life to the point where like Kadachis are just a problem at that point. So it is definitely a lot more work to guarantee that the dishonor line gets kicked off, but there's value in the line. Although, some heroes don't even care about having their hero power turned off. So
sure,
that's another thing too.
Yeah, that is. And I had somebody else sent me a different version of their list, which kind of has some CNCs in the sideboard and some other stuff. But I didn't see any of them that were running like, essentially attack reactions for like ways to just, oops, here you like the assassin. Oops, here you go. We're going to pump that right on up. And maybe.
I think it's also, I think what it comes down to is the fact that like most people who are just getting into Flesh and Blood probably don't even know that Dishonor line is a thing that exists or a thing that Katsu players like. And so it might just be something that like they can get away with, because if their opponent's coming in for, like I said, if you're able to spend most of your game whittling down your opponent, like Dishonor really, really good into heroes like Florian, for instance. Florian likes to wait until the end game and then utilize that end game ability after their hero power is turned online for them to just make Rune Chants, double up on their auras and stuff like that. But if you just continue to poke at their life until they're online and then threaten 14 Threatening 14 means that they have to block, right? Because they're at a lower life. They don't want to go down to a billion or whatever to like 2 life, because then they die to Kodachi lock in those situations.
Oh yeah.
That is when you implement the dishonor line, right? You've pitch stacked properly. You've gotten cards set up in a certain manner to where you're like, okay, cool. I know that I can spend my hardened cross trap, attack with my surging strike, and then come in with descendant, and then retrace, and then dishonor. And your opponent has to block like those first 3 cards to mitigate damage. And then when you come in with the dishonor for 4, if they try to block with a D react, you can
now
pop it over for 1.
Wouldn't
with a
Mask of
breaking skill.
Momentum help with this chain too, giving you an extra card into stuff?
Yes.
I mean, it sounds like that would be.
It would, yeah. If they're able to block out cards effectively, then that's one thing, right? If they still have armor up and they block their surging strike with a 3 block and some armor, then
or Mask of Pouncing Links, will let me technically pop it and get, a starting card theoretically, but I guess you still have to pay for it. So,
well, Mask of Pouncing Links actually allows you to go get dishonor.
Oh, well, there you go.
Which is pretty good, because if you let's just say you don't have the line, but you've set it up,
you can
right?
fix all but one of the cards by using that technically.
Exactly. So,
but it is a one-shotter. Like at that point, it's you're popping. I think it says destroy, right?
Yeah, you destroy.
When you may destroy, yeah. But the mask is just a blind draw off the top. So if you pitch stack right, then you could theoretically make it. I don't know. So I get it. So.
I mean, it's just kind of one of those things where like, it's really the aggression of Katsu that is good, because you're able to utilize these combo lines, and you've got the Mugenshi releases and the Lord of Winds, and being able to put everything back in your deck and do these fun little things. Like, those are all really good. Take the Tempo's a fun card to be able to slam another card off the top of your deck. Like, you have options to be able to go really, really, really wide if your opponent decides to disrupt you. And like I said, you're kind of the aggressor. Like, at least in the second deck you gave me with like only the 3 Flick Flax, you're certainly the aggressor. In the other deck, there's a lot more defensive options, and so there's a lot more to like more mid-range level stuff.
Yeah, I'm certainly excited to test it out and see what I can find.
Yeah, give it a shot. I think it comes down to like knowing what you want out of a deck, and like, you can make dishonor happen, but I wouldn't spend, unless it quite literally is so completely convenient. You don't want to dishonor within the first 3 turns. Like, you probably want to wait until they're below 20 life to attempt to dishonor them. And that's just because the threat of them losing all of that life to block out a dishonor is like, it's hard. It's hard to make that decision when you're that low on life, because you don't want to take 14, threaten a mask trigger, and give your opponent the edge just because you don't want to get dishonored. At that point, you have to block effectively. And if your opponent has it, they have it, right? If you get dishonor and they're just like, okay, I guess I get dishonored. But like, there aren't too many heroes where it's like the end of the world for them.
Sure.
For instance, like Arachne Marionette, really cool hero, loves to transform into things. Does not need to transform in order for them to win. And their hero power gets turned off. Sure, they don't get on hit +4 go again or whatever on their stealth cards if your opponent's marked, but Assassin can just disrupt you with the cards that are naturally in their deck. Yep. Like, Codex of Frailty still just turns off your Kodachis and stops them from giving anything there. So there's a lot. If you want a fun deck, though, something that was being brought around, I actually just helped a local of mine build it, but apparently even bigger than that is even bigger than that is being run in Ira, believe it or not.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I do actually have the promo, so I can run the adult version of it because I was lucky enough to find one of those. So
yeah, and I mean, literally, just if you play even bigger than that, I mean, the whole thing is you attack with Kodachi, and then you run a bunch of these 2-cost 6 power cards like Weakest Link, CNC, Erase Face, Amnesia, all these things, right? And what you do is you attack with your Kodachi, and then you play even bigger than that. And quite literally, you just opt 3, look at the top card of your deck. Oh, a CNC? You get to play a CNC and give it go again and +1 from Ira's ability. So it's a CNC for 7 with go again.
Oops.
That's insane. It's like weird tech. If that's like the most jank I've seen a deck so far, but
it works and it works. I mean, it's within the rules. So
yeah.
Speaking of the rules, there was actually 2 podcasts that I don't know if you listen to both, but I guess Roger is back doing his own little thing now. So
Roger that.
Yeah, that was pretty sweet. I did not know he started that back up, but I saw that he had Brian Gottlieb on there. So like between that and then the dev talk, I wanted to kind of intermix the 2 of those and have your thoughts on how that kind of was discussed, because I have some thoughts on it. I know that obviously they talked a little bit about the pirate set, right? We can, I guess, officially talk about that.
Yep.
I still have not. I know that there's that leaky thing that's out there. I'm kind of still pretending I know it exists, but I'm kind of personally not going.
I watched a video where somebody leaked that same thing.
Really?
Like, yeah, they like in their YouTube video, they talk like that's that same article thing, and I'm just like, they didn't say where they found it. I don't know where any of that is.
Yeah.
I literally, it was just like the funniest. I shit you not, Jacob. It was the funniest thing when I was like, I saw the pirate thing and I was just like, I need to tell him. Like,
yeah,
he needs to know.
I thought you were shit. I thought you were just yanking my chain. I was like, nah,
dude.
Nah.
It was the funniest thing in the world. Literally, the second I saw it, I was just like, oh, he is not gonna believe. It's like the middle of the day. He's not gonna believe a fucking word I'm saying in this regard. But it
took me a good solid
really
10
cool.
minutes to find it on their website too, because I was like, it's not here. It's not here, because it was only underneath the announcement for that specific set, or I'm sorry, the world premiere at that, and I was like, okay, interesting. Did not know that, but all right, whatever.
Yep.
So we got pirates, as James would say now. But now the speculation is, what does that mean, right? Like, there's those 3 archetypes that they talk about. Do you have any indication on what you think about those might end up being by any chance? Because
okay, so you'd have to remind me on what these archetypes are, because I don't quite remember exactly.
Sure.
Are they off of the dev talk, or is that in?
It's in the actual article. I'm gonna pull it up real quick just to make sure I'm saying it right. But there's like a salty sea lubber, something scallywag or whatever. And hold on.
I don't think those are like actual archetypes, though. I think it's just like
the
terminology for that.
Fresh-faced landlubber, salty old sea captain, which I believe would possibly lend to the. I guess the gentleman that's on, the trench of sunken treasure, and then you have sneaky stowaway. But I know that there's a lot of folks saying it could be ranger, it could be this, or do you really think we're going to get an actual pirate the class? Like, looking at the card distribution and how assassin came in originally, right? Like, it would be really rough to introduce a class. Now in a main set you could, if the whole set was all one class, but like to get only like 100 cards or maybe a third of a set for a class, it's a brand new class, that'd be real hard to stomach right off the bat, because it wouldn't have a lot of maybe I'm wrong, but what's your thought on something like that?
I think you are actually correct. I talked about this with a couple people at my locals, and like I've talked with others in our discords and stuff in regards to what we expect out of it, right? What is going to be the case? We know there are pirates, but let's be honest, right? Like, technically we can say there are pirates.
Everybody's a pirate.
And in a bunch of different sets. We can say there are pirates in the Hunted, right?
You get a pirate, and you get a pirate, and you get a pirate.
Yeah. Like, technically we can say based on the art that there are pirates, but there was not a true to heart announcement saying there are pirate heroes. A new class is being announced for Flesh and Blood, pirate, being in the high seas. Now, of course, I'm right there with you. I think that if they are going to create a pirate class, this entire set would need to be pirate themed. The whole thing. Which would be 3 pirates that would need to be announced for this set.
What would be crazy, and this is the I don't have a hat today. I'm not wearing a hat. This is an oddity for me, by the way. I had to get my hair cut. I'm working on some scalpy stuff, which is probably not worth going into, but yeah, that's always fun. Apparently I need to oil my head way more than I live in a hat. Like I've lived in a hat since I was a kid, and apparently I'm starting to pay the price for it, which is why I got my beard trimmed and some other stuff. It's yeah. So kids, make sure your hair can breathe and your feet can breathe. That's two very important things.
That's
unrelated to flesh and blood.
More flesh, not so much blood.
Yeah. If they were to do a pirate theme, everyone being a pirate, I ask myself, I look at Royal and say, because Brian touched on Royal a little bit in the talk, with Roger, and that they're not really looking in the future to maybe flush that whole class out. But there's that weird caveat, right, where you have the helmet that you put on and you become Royal. You gain that Royal talent, so to speak, that would set you apart, but you can't build your deck with the restriction because there'd be some oddities there. So because he'd mentioned that kind of turned me off from the idea of, oh, that's cool. They're just going to put like something that says, if this starts in play, your entire deck can be, pirate, add the pirate class, because that would basically, again, if you destroy the equipment, because that's a big thing now, right? Like Jarl's like, hey, let's blow shit up. And if that's, I still haven't opened this damn thing yet. I feel so terrible that Jarl is still in his little box, but it is coming.
Bring that to the armory.
We had somebody that wanted to play it. He had the frostbite tokens out. Maybe he switched from Jarl to Fi at the last round. Anyways,
what a drastic change.
Yeah, I know, right? That's like night and day. Where was I? So with the whole you can blow equipment up, I don't think you could have a piece of equipment that would allow you to do something like that. But I know in limited, right, macros just became a thing. What if they use a macro for limited to allow you to be a pirate?
I think if anything, I don't know, and this is literally something I just thought about, is that what if instead of it being a pirate concept, right? What if instead you're kind of given like the monarch, but if in Magic,
and monarch is a Magic terminology. Do you want? I know what you're talking about. Do you want to explain for anybody that may not know that?
So if you become the monarch in Magic the Gathering, you are essentially given a status or
a card,
a token, a card that says you are the monarch. And what that does is, so long as you are the monarch, every time you end your turn, you draw a card. But if your opponents hit you and deal damage to you at any point throughout the game, then they become the monarch. Right?
Which is similar to the marked, like the X, right? In the hunted, they've demonstrated that they have that theoretical back and forth concept.
Correct. It's like a status, right? It's a status that you're in. You either are marked or you are not marked. And in this situation, you could either be the captain or not, right? And so if they end up doing something like that, that'd be kind of fun. Although I don't know that like 2 statuses directly in a row is kind of like the theme for what they want to do.
Secretly, I think this is the beginning of PvE.
See, well, it's funny because, like, did you watch the clip that was with Liv, T, and TCG before the announcement?
No.
Okay, literally the funniest thing ever, okay? First and foremost, Liv, get in contact with us, okay? We want to fucking talk PvE. But, so
she's been doing some really good content. I mean, I've been kind of watching. I'd love to get, even a guest on the show. That'd be kind of fun to hang out and talk. Over in New Zealand, though, right?
Yes, okay. She's over in New Zealand. And so so what had happened is she was there for Christchurch, and they brought her on right before the announcement. And she said, specifically, because she was asked right before they got to the announcement, they showed the trailer, they asked her, they were just like, what do you think is going to be the announcement for today? Like, what do you think we are due to announce? And she quite literally said, I would think, if she was like, if I were to guess, it would be pirates and PvE. The 2 words she said before they launched that trailer. And the second it showed up as the high seas, I was like, well, if you got one right, well, what if the other one is correct?
Okay. I mean, for old timers, because I would say, at least for me, right, I've been waiting for that to happen for a while. Like looking at Teklo Crow's version, I know Overlord just announced something recently, which is the Overlord's another online PvE client, but I guess that gentleman just made a physical copy, a variation that you can play in person instead of having to use the Overlord engine online.
Okay.
I I reached out to him, or he has like a sign up sheet or something where you might be able to get them physically. But I got all the Tecla Crow ones, which is kind of like a dungeon crawl thing. But PVE has been this illusionary item, and I don't keep getting my hopes up, but the reason I have some hope, right, is I heard Smash Palace announcement, and the first thing I thought of is, holy crap, what if this is kind of like when you get angry and you go to those rooms and you smash things, right? Like, maybe that's the concept, but it's kind of like a whack-a-mole game where you're like essentially doing it for, maybe that's PvE light, where you're like going in as a group of people and the goal is to do as much damage to the puppet, which I think Talisher has something like where you basically just go against a data doll that has like 999,000 life or whatever. So it's like how much wombo combo stuff you can get off. Maybe that's something. But yeah, if she said something about PvE and that, I mean, great. Like, bring it on. Let's go. Like,
I think it'd be very, very interesting to see. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I think that whatever they're going to do with the high seas, obviously it's, currently it's James White's most favorite set to date is what is coming with the high seas.
Well, and whatever happened to the thing about items? Remember, James hyped up a long time ago, make sure you get your items,
And I mean, well, it's because, like, I'm pretty sure, like, I mean, at some point there's going to come a point where, let's say, for instance, there might even be a hero that gets additional benefit based on how many items they have on the board because they're hoarding.
What about if this is an alchemist set? Instead of, you get pirates and alchemists.
We could get alchemists. I mean, like, there could be 3 new classes that get
this,
released.
This could be a mind blown.
Right? But I don't know, right? Because, and this strictly because, like, one, with so many ranger cards having the depictions of pirates,
I believe that Rangers have something to do with pirates.
Most people are expecting Rangers are going to be getting something, whether it be, who knows? Maybe we get a new version of Riptide that doesn't do directly what he does now, but is like in a different version because he's like an angler and does all that stuff there.
Sea monsters?
Maybe Trench Guy becomes a thing. Yeah, I mean, maybe, sea monsters become more relevant and they're like,
well, I mean, that would be, I guess, my legitimate question is, they're
illusionists that summon sea monsters.
Maybe. I mean, that would be.
I would freak out.
That would be pretty cool. You could ride a shark, right? Like, you could get like one of those, because there was a couple other games that have gone down this path. One of them, actually, I think do I have it down here? Hold on. Oh, digging into my Wayback Machine here. Cryptic. Here, let's call back to Cryptic. This is pretty sweet. God. So Cryptic, you know who this is, or what the game this was?
Yeah.
This is I bought this specifically because it is a Persian starter deck, which is Wicked Prophets. I don't know, any of that stuff matters anymore, but it was a pirates-based starter deck. And on the inside, there were like really cool piratey type things. Let's see here. There is like, this is an underwater looking, tentacle looking thing. This is a guy who's hanging out with a shark, right? So there's some pretty sweet looking, like, piratey stuff. Like, I don't know what the heck this thing is, but it looks like it's freaking Madden and insane with like a, dude steering the ship. There's little tentacle creature thingies, or this is whatever is this, humble and patient, quietly maneuvers. I don't know. So it was a pirate based thing, or merfolk. We got crab people. Right. We saw the crab thing, but there's some shark looking stuff in here. But I mean, they could go any way with this, right? Like, you could literally have a myriad of different options. Gosh, I haven't looked at this in like a year now. I bought it.
Yeah, I definitely think that when it comes down to like, ooh, fun little guy.
It's like a shark with armor. That's the one I was looking for. Is there's like a shark with armor.
Shark armor. But
or you got this tavern looking dude.
It is going to be It is going to be something, because if there is a new pirate hero, like a class that comes out, right? A class would certainly mean that this entire set needs to be pirate themed. Otherwise, you are not going to see pirates in the meta unless they make like the most busted Majestics for the hero.
Funny you mention that. So back in the day, I would have 100% agreed with that statement. But there are other avenues they can introduce cards now. First strike decks, armory decks.
Correct. And this is where I was getting, right? Because effectively, with this set, you could release pirates. And then because
Follow it up.
it was announced that with the release of this set, there is also going to be an armory deck release with this set. So if there is going to be a hero that maybe appears, maybe they're a brand new hero, a new armory deck origins or something of a sort that gets released with this, that introduces that class and is able to utilize those things in the set, awesome. But I don't think it's going to be a talent. I don't want it to be a talent because I think Pirate Ranger is...
Well, but then you get access to, you'd be doing some really weird stuff like, 3 of a kind onto some, I mean, like I'm assuming it would feel too much like a Ranger. It would feel too much like an Azalea plus something.
Pirate is a class. You know what I mean? Like that is a class in an RPG, it being a pirate.
Or swashbuckler.
Yeah. But like you're not light in a class. Or you're not draconic in a class. That's like it's like a bloodline thing. That's like your talent, of course, right? In these situations, your shadow, light, all these things, earth. They're more elemental focused in like harnessing those like energies of aether and stuff like that. Not at all. You just kind of like to be on the sea sometimes as a talent. Like I don't think it's going to be a talent. I think it's going to have to either be a hero that is released with the set to give immediate support to pirates, or the entire set's pirates. Or hopefully Ranger gets support.
Because I found it.
What do you find?
Clearly won't be able to hear a word you're saying because I did pull my earpiece out. Remember last time I think I was talking about something and I had indicated there was an old game.
Pirate ship game?
Yeah, I found where I hit it. So this is this is the Davy Jones Gold Pirates of the Crimson Coast game.
Oh my goodness!
I got it for $9. Very impressive, right?
Wow.
Yeah, but it has sea. I wanted to point this out because it has sea monsters and it has gold doubloons, and you had like tokens. So like the concept of this game, nothing like Flesh and Blood, right? This is a tactical simulation where you're playing around, but you do get like the island cards. You put the captains can change the abilities on the ships. So watching the trailer and thinking through like concepts like these board games in a box, I kind of was thinking that maybe again, because the zones in the game are pretty static. We have the head, chest, arms, legs, 2 arms, or two weapons, or weapon and a shield. And then the very first thing happened with Outsiders, right? We got that new quiver component for the Ranger. Well, theoretically, if you think of the slots as ambiguous, you could have a pirate that doesn't have a leg, like where you're going to have KO who doesn't have one of the arm slots. So you could have a peg leg pirate that doesn't get legs or whatever. You could have the option to even theoretically leverage, if it's a pirate class, do something unique where maybe your equipment, because like Technoloboston starts with the base equipment and goes in some there could be some building component where you're building your ship, or going into the Magic terms, I forget the term. You might know what I'm talking about, but there were like these sets where you had like a crew, and that's it. Yeah, that's so like you had a thing, and then you put the people in it, and then it became this. Oh, look at me, the big ship, do, and we, it rolled.
That is in fact how crew worked.
So, seeing this, and maybe you could do something interesting of that effect, right? Like, where does it say?
If you want to think overall from the concept of what they want to do with the game design moving forward after the draw card ban, effectively what they want to do is they want to make heroes thematic.
Yep.
And they want to make it so that there's a payoff for their big turn, right? That their big thing that they're working towards.
Johnny Depp rolling on in.
It's a mission, right? And so if it ends up being the case that they end up wanting to be like, okay, cool, like, I don't know, like if it is like, you create X amount of gold pieces, and if you have X amount of gold pieces, you can sacrifice 10 gold pieces to create a pirate ship, and that pirate ship is like a mechanoid that you can, that you can swing.
Give me a pirate ship.
Like that's like you could literally just be like, okay, cool, like you have to you know, your only action that turn is to swing pirate ship. You don't get the opportunity to go again. You just have to attack with pirate ship.
The
And it comes up for like
marvels on that would be just
8 or something.
unbelievably expensive.
Oh,
Like,
for sure, for sure. But I mean, like, these are all, of course, like super big, like fantasy things, and like whatever
it's the
they're
fantasy
doing,
trope. Yeah.
right? Whatever they're doing at the end of the day, like, it's dependent on how they build the set. If pirate comes out and there's only 30 cards that are for the pirate class, in
Well,
the set,
Chaos came out in a very limited release.
and luckily the assassin class is built up. You know what I mean? Like a talent is one thing, right? Because if it was a talent, we could add a talent to everybody who can get that talent. But what we can't do is make a class. Like the only thing we can do to make the pirate class, if it does not come out with an entire set that's full of pirate stuff, to be good, is add in all of those really powerful generics, right? Sink Belows, Fate for Scenes, Shelter of the Storms, CNCs, E-Strikes, Weakest Links, Erase Faces. Like, those are the things we can add into a deck to be like, okay, cool, this is nice filler, but it's not thematic. It's not a thematic build. So it's all about depending like what their payoff is to playing a pirate, right? Like, what would that be?
Let's look at something interesting real quick, because you brought up an interesting point. So starting with WTR, Arcane, Crew, Monarch, Tales, right? All of those, they might have introduced differences in playing classes or adding talents to something, but it wasn't really until they hit 2.0 with Dynasty and really kind of began to flush out you can add something to bolt on a talent, right? That was when they first kind of explored that territory. But then something else that we've seen is they have the dual class cards, right? That was kind of a thing that came out with Outsiders, right? Right after that, that was revolutionary. One of the things that I had speculated very early on, and I still don't know if it's a true statement, I don't think there are. The word would be modal cards. I haven't seen any, once you hit a threshold, like in Magic, it was called like Threshold or something, or Gravekeep or whatever. Like at a certain, I guess the closest was like Florian or whatever, with the having the 4 and the 8 and turning it on. Is that
the
Earth cards?
If you really want to consider modal cards, I mean, just look at the Chi cards from Mistveil.
Okay, that is true. But that Mistveil was still very recent, right? And even Rosetta didn't have anything of that caliber. I don't think it was very.
No, they didn't have anything.
No double-sided cards. But maybe we get something interesting, like a card that has 2 text boxes. The play it once and does this, and if it's on your
meld cards?
Second cycle, yeah. I mean, meld. Well, so Tales of Aria did is that where you like lightning and you meld it together?
Not the fusion.
Fuse,
quite literally, they came out in Rosetta. The cards. One of them's the instant. The other one is
the half and the halves.
Burn up shock, right? Yeah, those.
Yeah. I forgot the term for that. Yeah, so you can only play one side. Oh God, could you imagine if this whole set had 50-50, like a bunch of cards like that? Or one or both.
Yeah. I think genuinely what it is it's not about, and this is something that I believe was brought up in what the heck is I think it had to have been, it was either in the Dev Talk or it was in that most recent Roger That. But Brian Gottlieb brought up the fact that like it might not have been the most, like the Hunted might not have been like the most insanely like
flashiest
groundbreaking set,
but it's been received very well.
It was received very well. It was good. Yep. Like it gave a lot of good Majestics into the format. It bumped up a lot of heroes to be able to have certain additions to their classes and their talents. And that's really what it came down to, was that it was a valuable set for players, even though it didn't do anything groundbreaking. Like, they didn't release the Chaos talent. They just said, hey, this guy can swap heroes. Like,
there will be more of it coming, right? Like, that's the other thing that people are. I mean, I was freaking out about it. I will definitely admit that when I realized that it was just gone everywhere, I was like, what the hell am I going to do? And my usual suspects, when I go to ask for things, half of them didn't have some of the stuff I typically am very readily able to get. But it
Mm-hmm.
sounds like that will be remedied in the very near future, which is great. So
Yeah.
that's awesome, because there was a little bit of, heart sink when I was like, oh God, what might this mean? And I think it's just a preemptive. I was a little too reactionary on that. And now I'm realizing, okay, well, it's just, it sounds like they even described it. There was some shipping issues or something, or like just
Yeah, well,
logistics.
I mean, they described it as like initially, and what they did right with this pre-release season is that they allowed for stores to
Stores to
sell their
sell
product
stuff.
on
Yep.
pre-release. And so what they did in that same vein is they did not expect that to be such an insanely hype thing to happen,
Yep.
and they limited stores to being able to
Just
purchase
one
only
X. I
X
think it was
amount.
like one
Yeah,
extra some box or something per case, or one case or something
yep,
per
one case,
kit.
yeah, one case extra
Um,
per whatever you're at, or per kit you
yeah.
got. And so that was the only thing they were able to do. So in what they're doing for the high seas,
Yep.
they're allowing for more allocation to be sent to stores on
Which
the
is
day
fantastic.
of
And
pre-release.
more pre-releases. That
Yep.
was the huge takeaway from that dev talk,
Stores are
was
able to do more than one pre-release.
more than one pre-release is fantastic, because that lets me relive that multiple times. Now, I know that there
Yep.
are certain people that didn't jive. Like, I know for a fact that one or two of the people that were in the pod I was playing with did not enjoy drafting or
Uh-huh.
playing sealed in the hunted, and I understand that. So not every set's going to jive with everybody, but I think even having the option or the flexibility of saying, hey, I want to do a pre-release. Now, you may not get the promos every time, right? Like, I don't know what that's going to look like, right? You still may only get the promos for doing launch day, but you can
Mhm.
still say, let's host these pre-release events, or even having 2 or 3 pre-release events that you can attend would be fantastic, because I think even getting just one, and then me having to go to like 3 different stores and trying to do the round robin of like, okay, I can schedule this day and then this day, and I would just rather not have to rush my butt and just sit and
Uh-huh.
enjoy it. And yeah, I mean, I think
Yeah.
that's a fantastic change. I think that was a very positive, to me, very positive reception. I know that dev talk talked a lot about some other stuff that the competitive, the calling, of the card combos and stuff. To me, I'll let somebody else worry about all that. Like, that's not
Well,
my
yeah,
cup of
I mean,
tea.
like as I'm sure, like as a casual player, right? It's not like a big deal in that regard. I feel like that there was just there was a lot of worry from the community, because essentially the case was that with how scarce the hunted has been right now,
Certain cards are pretty expensive.
this is why we see prices as high as they are in regards to some cards. And because the allocation has not, wave 2 has not been able to be sent out to stores just yet, stores just don't have product. And if they don't have product, they can't fuel the hundreds, if not thousands, of new players that are entering the game and looking to play any of
Mhm.
these new heroes at their local armory or at the next RTN, which, mind you, the RTNs happened and are still ongoing. It is RTN season currently as of the recording of this.
But you know what's crazy?
These people
Crazy
need
to
these
me?
cards.
I mean, looking at, I just pulled up the top selling cards, high to
Mm-hmm.
low in the hunted, right? You
Mm-hmm.
have the extended art Shelter from the Storm, 280 something bucks. The Command and Conquer, 240 bucks. You got the
Mm-hmm.
Marvels, you got the Cold Foils, you got the legendary, extended arts. But the real interesting one to me is the Schism of Chaos is only a $48 card. Like, the Fabled is, only about a $100 card or $50 card, or the Cold Foil is about 120. And somebody at our group did get one of those, and I'm thinking about just
Mm-hmm.
trading for it or getting it, because I want to collect one of each. But
Mm-hmm.
realistically looking at this, right, there are not a lot of cards. Like Command and Conquer, it was originally that like 90, 110. Now it's back to like 75. So great, they were able to do something. And this is just with Wave 1. What's going to happen with Wave 2, Wave 3? We're going to get a little bit more of that product in tow. And I think
Yeah.
that you're going to see some of these prices drop. Like, yeah, you're right. That Arachne Marionette Marvel's $300.
Yeah.
The Syndra one is $300. I really want these Fieldy tokens. I did not even see that on TCG Player for a couple of days. So obviously somebody must have fixed something, because that now showed up.
Yeah, it wasn't on there for a little while. But something I did want to bring up though is that like we also have to remember that with the way the market is right now, it's not so much that these cards are worth that amount of money, right? It's because right now people are buying them at rates that are pretty high. But
Mhm.
if there is a moment in time where somebody looks at a $300 Marvel Arachne Marionette and that card is not worth $300 to them, people will not buy it. They will not buy it.
The
And
market
then
dictates that.
the card
Yeah.
price will go down,
Oh,
right? And that's entirely it. Right now, we're just experiencing a thing where the sheer volume of product entering into the market is not as much as able to supply the people who want to play them, right? You
Oh,
have people
sure.
who are looking to play all these new heroes, right? Arachne and Syndra right off the bat. There are a few Fang enjoyers who are looking to get all this stuff too.
Well,
Obviously,
the young Fang Marvel's
Shelter's
only
good.
$30. The Arachne,
The youngs
Marvel's
are always
30
going to
bucks.
go cheap.
I'm so excited about that because to me, right, like I love the UPF world and I love
Right.
just the young. So to me, I'll just go ahead, boom, 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 I'll buy all those. And even if I wanted to play the adult Arachne, yeah, I guess technically I'm not going to be able to play it at like a tournament, but like a casual, I could just still set that down
You
and
can
say,
put
hey,
it in your
my
armory.
life total is a little bit different, right? Like here's I get a
Yep.
bigger life total. The only
Mhm.
card, because I was asking about this, the only card that breaks that mold so far is I believe Florian, where there's truly an actual text difference between the 8 and the 4. I think
Florian
that's
and
the
Verdance.
Florian
both.
and okay. So there are two that have that, but you just need to know that for sure. I do want to ask the question because I know that Logan at Flesh and Pod talked a little bit about Hunter's Clave and saying he disagreed with James's take on there's an appropriate quantity of these. Now,
Mhm.
as I have learned, because I ended up trading, I talked about this maybe with you or somebody else, but I traded my flick knives for a white border tunic at
Mhm.
the actual pre-release, and oddly
Mhm.
enough, I traded flick knives plus a couple other cards that were probably $10-15 a piece. So I traded probably like $185 worth of cards, but flick knives was only like $100 for the $180 tunic, and then now that one flick knife went all the way up to like 180 or whatever. It's crazy how much that went. So that's insane to me. Good on that guy for getting it. But with that said, I learned because of something I was looking at with the mech side with the adaptive platings, you can have up to 3 in your inventory of
Mhm.
even named weapons or equipment. So
Mhm.
in this scenario here, Hunter's Clave, I didn't think it was that important, but looking at Arachne, because of the when this hits a hero, mark them, that seems to trigger very explicitly with the hero ability,
Uh,
which then creates the if you're marked, you roll the random dice to get the change.
uh-huh.
So, do you believe that there is something that we as the player base have yet to discover on why he thinks or why the LSS group in general believes that this card has gone, skyrocketed to the moon, but do we really need 3 of them? Like, do people really? I don't understand why it's $45, 60. Right now, it's $50. Like, I do not understand why that is $50.
So the reason it is hard to find is because we've had several numbers from several different sellers come out and say that out of like 30 cases or something that they opened, they received like maybe 10 Hunter's Claves, right? And this is a weapon that Arachne Marionette and Slippy both seem to want 2 of, if not 3, because they're usually on the flick knife build, which allows them to
Okay.
flick a knife to mark your opponent, right? Now, from what James White had said and Brian Gottlieb have said through the dev talk, is that this card was printed at the same ratio as the daggers from Outsiders, right? Same
Well,
ratio.
and right now there's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I just did class assassin type weapon in
Mm-hmm.
February, but there's 9 total daggers. One
Mm-hmm.
of them being the graphene silica, which I believe you can only use. You can't actually equip it unless you have the spider piece. So there's really only 8 daggers, I think, right? 8.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't start your game with that dagger.
So,
So
sorry, go ahead
yeah,
though. So.
no, that's essentially it, right? Like it is. I'm gonna see. Hold on.
But would an assassin deck really run one of each of these to have 8 daggers in their inventory to take away from other slots in their game? Like, is that something that you would see, or is that I mean, seems insane to
So
me. But
I think thematically the concept here is that you want to have a dagger for each job, right? Like quote
okay,
unquote. Like when you're going to assassinate your opponent, you want to make sure that you are thematically following into a dagger that is meant to harm them based on their weaknesses,
and
right? For instance, Nerve
beckoning blade
Scalpel's really
actually
good.
is majestic only or mythic only or bleh,
Yes,
mystic only.
Mystic.
So really,
Yep.
there's only 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that you could choose
Yeah.
for any of the regular ones.
And I think that's the concept that they're looking to bring about, is that like Graven Call is also an expansion slot
Correct.
dagger, right? Graven Call is an expansion slot dagger that some could even consider you would want to run 2 of them. But if you take a look at Graven Call on TCG Player, I don't believe it's anywhere near the same
$1.69,
price.
baby.
Yeah.
Buy your
And so
copies now before they explode to $50 a dagger. Don't buy those.
And so this dagger is printed in the same rate that Hunter's Clave is printed, but this dagger is $1.69. The reason why is because people have not figured out any plans or any rate to be able to make that dagger as effective. Because effectively, that dagger just does damage, right? You just buy it back with silver. And you can't use silver unless you're playing a whole contract deck that's making silver and nobody's playing Arachne Huntsman. So when it comes down to it, it's determining what the point of the thing is. I don't think you need 2 Hunter's Claves at all. I think you need 1 Hunter's Clave, and you can run another dagger if need be. Whatever, Spider's Bite if you're playing into aggro more frequently, Nerve Scalpel if you're playing into more fatigue decks, or even warriors that use reactions. You can even play things like Scale Peeler for decks that have a lot of armor that you want to break down. Like, there's still the ability to run the different daggers based on what you're specifically looking for. Because the way I've seen people play Arachne Marionette, I would just call him Mario. The way I've seen people play him is that you swing a dagger, right? And so you swing your dagger and your opponent marks you. So you attack for 1, your opponent marks you, but then your opponent attacks you again with another dagger. And that doesn't make any sense to me. Because if I'm already marked and you're trying to hit me with your dagger again, that's not threat. I'm already marked. So you're just marking me again. And that doesn't do anything to me. That just simply continues to stay in the same status that I was previously. So in this situation, it might be better just to attack with Nerve Scalpel and then attack with the Hunter's Clave. Then that way, whatever you throw in that third little thing, you end up getting the more value out of it because you've already disrupted your opponent with your previous dagger that actually makes their cards that they block for less. So there's tons of value. I don't think the card was short printed. I think the card was printed at a rate that is the same as any other dagger. And I think the reason it's so, Cold Foil Nerve Scalpel.
And the funny thing is, I was just looking because like I only got one really decent like cold foil, but I have a couple of rainbow foil scale peelers here. I have a rainbow foil Nerve Scalpel, and I have 2 Orboclast. Now these are just from random packs and pickups over time, right? But I didn't realize the cold foil on that was as expensive. But I guess thinking about it, right, the cold foil people will track those down. But the regular Outsiders, Nerve Scalpel, non-rainbow foil, non-cold foil is only $1.26, and then heck, even the rainbow foil is probably only like $3. So I mean, it's not
the only reason this card is expensive right now is because Assassin just got a new makeover,
a new toy
in the form of marking, and for one, it only got that makeover for Marionette because Slippy doesn't really care about marking. It just happens to be convenient that they can mark, but like New isn't running Hunter's Clave. Some people are, but not everybody is. And Hunter's Clave specifically, all it does is got piercing and it marks you. That's it. And so if your deck is about marking your opponent, sure, right? You could run 2.
And the synergy exists.
But I still think that if you're running 2 daggers, you are better off attacking.
Is there a one-handed offhand generic is there a one-handed offhand generic? So
Ornate Tessin.
Well, there's the Everfest lantern, but that's
but Ornate Tessin. That's the from Dynasty. That's a generic offhand. Bloodied Oval is a generic offhand.
Is that why that one's stupid expensive?
Bloodied Oval isn't expensive.
Well, the cold foil is.
The cold foil for Bloodied Oval is expensive?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I wish I'd have known because I accidentally gave away a couple of those, and now they're like, just look it up. It is unbelievably interesting how expensive that one particular card from Heavy Hitters is. I would have never guessed because I thought it was $1, and I oopsed.
I don't think that's $20 is fine. I think $20 is still fine for a cold foil.
Oh no, I get, but I guess what I'm saying is I thought it was $1. Like I just did
Yeah.
not
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like
understand.
it is still it's a fairly more usable cold foil. I think that's probably why it's a little bit more, but definitely is still like very doable as far as cold foils are concerned.
By
But
the way, did you pick up your Fleetwood sandals cold foils before they spike?
no, I did not. They did not spike, right? Don't tell me that. That's
No,
gotta be
they.
insane.
I don't
Okay,
think
good.
they. I don't think they did. But
Did
that
you
was
see
one of those.
trench went up a lot?
Oh yeah, trench went up like a sunken
Trench went
treasure.
up a
Now,
lot.
did you know Four Finger Glove, which is from Rosetta, does now that I look at it, either looks like a bard or a pirate?
It's probably a bard. They're a jester, are they not?
Yeah.
Isn't that the
Oh,
whole
that'd be
thing?
another hot take, by the way. That was something I'd thought of. Is maybe we have a bard, and a merchant. So Cavdane, since he was showing up in the other one, maybe we get a Cavdane as the wheeler and dealer of gold.
I think it'd be funny. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity, obviously, for the set, but I mean, like, I think overall, as long as it's just like not, as long as whatever gets introduced actually gets like support, we're in a
Yeah.
fine spot.
It'll be good.
But
Be great.
if it doesn't, you know, then you're looking at a different thing. But like again, bringing it back to the Hunter's Clave thing, I think that more people need to try out different combos of.
But
Hunter's
everybody
Clave.
net decks, buddy. Everybody. There's no original idea.
Exactly. And that is why this is a $50 card, because people are just running 2 copies of it. And like, I get that there's a okay, so Savor Bloodshed obviously is a card, right? And like, that's kind of important, because if you come in for 5 after attacking with a dagger and your opponent's not marked, you don't get to draw a card. But if you flick your knife in reactions to destroy to mark your opponent before that dagger hits, you get to draw a card. That's a cute tech, right? To get to draw a card, but now you lost a knife, right? And so if the whole point is to recur 2 knives, it's fine. But you can also just run Mark of the Huntsman, which does that exact same thing. Is that if it hits, it gets destroyed. It does the same thing. And that's a token.
Sure.
Like, you can run that exact same card. So I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of nuance to figuring out exactly what's happening with that.
Do you want to know something that just tickled me insane? I looked up a card the other day that I thought was 50 cents.
Uh-huh.
Let's see if we can play the game of what it is. It's a generic.
Uh-huh.
And by the way, it's not 30 cents anymore. I have to preface that with that. So I thought it was 50
But
cents.
it was 30 cents?
It was 50 cents. When I bought all of my copies, they were 50 cents a piece. So,
It's generic? Is it equipment?
It's a generic. It's not equipment. It goes in your deck. It is from the third set of Flesh and Blood.
Crucible War, a generic. I don't know too much about Crew.
Flabbergasted to understand that the cost of that card is where it is currently sitting. I will be selling several copies of what I have.
Crew? What does it cost to play it?
The cost is a blue pitch.
Okay, so it costs 3?
It's 0. No, it's 0 to play, but it's a blue pitch card, and it's a generic.
Majestic?
It is a Majestic.
Blue Majestic?
Blue Majestic from Crucible of War.
Blue Majestic from Crew? What the hell? What even is that?
Oh, it's a fantastic artwork. I've always enjoyed the artwork.
Arknight Shard?
No.
That was never 30 cents.
The attack action cards
also Runeblade
cannot
only.
gain attack from their own effects or the effects of other attack reaction cards.
Snag. Yeah, no, Snag is very expensive right now.
Snag is $30.
Yeah, it's Assassins, dude. Assassins are ripe. Are you kidding me? That's
baby,
so crazy.
Look at this. Back in like April of like this year, well, it'd be last year now, April of 24, they were $1.43. I was buying these for 50 cents. I was buying.
I mean, April last year, new wasn't even announced yet.
I know, but
So
this is what's insane to me, right? It's like the long term, if you just play it in the game and just hang out, like I just cannot believe that this card is worth 30. I would not pay $30 for this card. Like if I didn't own them, I would not be paying $30 for this card.
You know who would is players who are looking to beat Assassin at their locals and are not yet enfranchised in the game.
which is perfectly fine. Like I said, I was just blown back when I saw it. I was like, wow, that card really did a because Magic just did an announcement with the tiered system, I guess, for Commander. And I was watching some people talk, and there were some cards that just went from pennies because they were banned to like now they're 800, 1,000% spiked on top of what they are. And I'm just like, holy, that's not the case for Snag, right? Like there's a good reason for it to be useful. I just looking at the long term, zooming out and saying, wow, even a year ago, this card has gone from $1.50 to $30. It's just, it's like popcorn,
and
man.
it's just, but it's quite literally what happens. I mean, like that is something that like I've been very vocal about on my channel a lot too, is like, if you take a look and you go online to TCG Player and you look up all the Majestics that are under $5, go ahead and pick up 10 copies of each one. Just
if you don't own a play set of them, I mean,
right. If you like go ahead and buy 9 copies, right? Buy 3 copies for yourself and then buy 6 copies so that you can sell them later. Because the second something comes out in which some of these cards are going to be like, oh, that's value, right? Like, you know, if there's a hero that comes out in if there's a new brute that comes out in the high seas that cares about rolling dice.
Oh yeah.
You know how many cards are going up in price for brute? Like Scabskin Leathers is going to go insane.
Do you want to know now that we are past an hour and only the true people that are part of the I went, by the way, I dipped below 600. I went down to like 598 and I got real discouraged for a day or two, and now I'm back up above 600. But man, that number that keeps going like this. But you want to know a rare? It's a rare from Outsiders. Yeah, a rare from Outsiders.
Looking for a scrap.
The cost is $3. You already know. Why is it almost $4 for that rare?
Assassins.
That is it?
Yeah.
I probably have 60 of those things.
Every assassin runs it. It's a 1 for 5 with go again. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Like,
but like, why? It was a 30-cent.
You should see what the foils are going for.
Oh God. Why?
Rainbow foil rare from Outsiders.
People don't play with rainbow foils.
Yeah.
Oh wow, $7, $7, $10. There's some people.
Rainbow foil rare.
Wow. If
that
only
you and I probably have several copies of.
I probably have some laying around somewhere. I would not be surprised. I did find 3 copies of that card because I was wanting to put it in my Dishonor deck. I thought it'd actually be a pretty interesting card. I didn't know it was that expensive until I was randomly looking to, do the Fabry build thing, and it was like, this is a $5, $4 card. I'm like, what?
Yep. Sure is. It's literally just it. Like, if you take a look at where the meta has shifted in Classic Constructed from then until now, you have so many people hopping on the Assassin train, and because you have so many people popping on the Assassin train, Bonds of Agony is going up, Persuasive Prognosis is going up, Justin Nick is going up, Flick Knives is going up. The dagger prices are going up.
One day Mechanologist will rise again.
Yeah, maybe they won't make a bad set for Mechanologist again and for the second time.
Maybe Mechanologist is going to be an aeronaut and we'll get a dirigible transformer in the pirate set as a space steampunk captain.
Some crazy sci-fi alter where you get Dash, but she turns into a Gundam.
Like, oh God, please,
sign me up. I'll take that. But I think it's a while before Flesh and Blood goes to space. So
I don't know if Mech's going to get love. I was trying to make an infographic on this, and it's actually ridiculously hard. I don't know. I saw maybe it's Caplo or somebody. One of the guys made a graph where they had each of the sets and they put the heroes and kind of the gaps between where they were or something. There used to be a chart something like that, but I wanted to make one where in my version of this, I wanted to not only track the set releases with the classes in it, so I can see the main set had, let's say, I'm just pick on Ninja. So like WTR had Ninja, Arcane was a gap, and then Crucible had Ninja, and then the next set, Monarch, no Ninja, right? So it'd be on, off, on, off, on, off, or whatever. And you get this timeline. Now, when we start getting to the later sets, right, with this expansion slot, right, you kind of get this. It might be on or not, so I might have to delineate that somehow to be like, hey, it's not part of the main set, but you get like a bonus card or here or there.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to try to start to track down like the cadence cycle of if there is any rhyme or reason to how they have those, because then you can look at okay talents layered on top of that. So like have a row going this way, which is the heroes, the classes, and then a row
Mm-hmm.
going this way, which is the talents, and then where they intersect, you can kind of see oh they introduce these talents in these sets. Um, but again, you know, circling back to my ridiculously ghetto lore book, you know, there are other classes. Pirate was not one of them, but again, we still don't have Alchemist. Bard technically exists, but Necromancer and Cleric, I would imagine that's going to be, if I had to take a wild guess, that's going to be the whole Dust Till Dawn 3.0 or
Mm-hmm.
Return to Monarch again, right? If we're going to see those, I think that's where we're going to see it. I would even say so far as Necromancer was not going to be in this set because I think it's a wanted thing, but you can't do pirates, and I mean you can do pirates and necromancers. You can do a version of necromancy.
You can certainly do all of that, right?
You can
Iku,
do-
you again, like if it's not two, okay, if it's not two classes or new classes, is it themed pirates, right? Is Ranger going to be the pirates? Is there going to be a shadow illusionist? Is there going to be even if it's just a regular non-talented illusionist, right? Are we just doing no talents at this point, right? We're just more Ranger.
Could you imagine if the whole set
more-
was generic? That would be awesome. Just a
that would
straight,
not be awesome.
a
my
straight
God, that would be-
generic set. Just everything
God.
generic.
That is absolutely not going to be good for the market.
Merchant.
Oh, God, that would be crazy.
Flizzy and Squoof, here we come.
Oh my God. No, I think
know.
it's just going to be, I don't know. There's a lot of things they can do with it. Do I think that they have a way to twist old talents and new in old classes? Sure. But
Brian's next Brian's next speech. Oh yeah, instead of a oops all arachne, it's gonna be oops all generics. Here we go.
oops, all generics. Did you guys want a reprint of every generic that ever exists in Flesh and Blood? We got you. That's what we're gonna get.
Well, today's keynote is brought to you by Singpla.
I think something else that might even happen. I don't know. We might even see new Guardian stuff too. Just
Yeah,
because
I mean, we got
the Mastery
Jarl.
Pack coming out pretty soon, right?
Well,
So,
and
I say
why-
it's pretty soon, but
Something else that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about is remember they technically had Guardian Pack Mastery slotted in technically before this set, but they rearranged it to be after. So
Uh-huh.
there's got to be a in Living again I'm not the Living Legend stuff in the next year is going to dramatically change, and there will be a cascade. I think Brian talked about this a little bit, but there will be a cascading effect, right? I mean, Dash is still hanging on by the bootstraps of the bootstraps because
Uh-huh.
Dash is right up there, but everyone's playing everything else because Dash is not seemingly, at least in the US versions, I'm not seeing Dash being represented. Or if they are picking it, they're picking Dash.io instead of Dash. But while we have 37 individuals that are currently available, I think it's like what 1,500 points is the per season or per year, right?
Yep,
So
per season.
coupling that with the 1.5 to 2 years mean average, which is what Brian had quoted, which is again 1.75, so 1.25 years. Dash is beyond that. Zen technically is right around that. Viserai is obviously very old. Azalea is very old. Phi is very old. Bravo's very old. Enigma is right around that. Kano's very old. Ko's very old. Katsu's very old. Nu's right around that. Dory's very old. And that's just the top 10 or 11. As you get further down, they're all pretty new. So once one gets knocked out and it's no longer preying on the others, like if Viserai does speed run this, right? Then that gives an opening for another hero to come in, and then that hero will reign supreme. Everyone's going to jump over and shift it, right? It's kind of like that, fat guy in a little coat running from room to room to room to room back and forth, and it's just like you're going to see every competitive meta person saying, I'm going to play this hero, then I'm going to play this hero, and then play this hero, and they're just going to ping pong. And with 1,500 points, I mean, you spread that over to these top 10 people, and there's 10 people's worth of points gone because you take the numbers that they have. Actually, I'm going to try to. Well, if you want to talk about something, I'm going to do a quick math thing. Hold on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, effectively, the whole thing with this is like, we are obviously due to see several heroes LL either this RTN season or within the next ProQuest season. That is when like a lot of what we plan to do and see is when that happens, because that's when most of the points are accumulated. Because while you have several people winning battle hardens and callings and stuff like that, like usually that's like a big majority to one hero, but this is where we see a lot of majority to several other heroes. And so, like, the fact that Enigma got 43 points throughout this first week means that if she can get 43 points for the next 4 weeks of RTN season, then she'll be right up there in the 900s, roughly. Or, well, I guess it'll probably be like it'll be about like almost the 900s for that. Fi and Bravo are up there, but Fi is only that high because he got a whole bunch of points for winning the world championship back when those points were like 300 points per hero, whereas now currently the point is 100 for the hero that wins the world championship. So
well, they changed the numbers to help with that too.
Right, exactly, right, because they didn't just want heroes to like poof gone, right? Like they wanted them to stick around and get like a whole bunch of stuff. So
you want to know something wild? I just did some quick Excel math here, right?
Yeah.
So if I understand right, and to make sure I'm kind of prefacing this correctly, is it 1,500 points per season or is it 1,500 points season? Okay, so in just this 1,500 point season, if that all goes to the top 10 places or top 9 places as of the filming of this, the current total number, because you'd have to take the 1,000 because they have to at least hit 1,000 if not more, and then their current. So if I subtract that and I add all those together to knock out the top 9 people, it's only going to take 1,700 points. So technically the top 8 could go this season alone. Then you'd have the next 1,500, which would be like KO and Katsu and coming on down, right? Like that's if they went out in order. But since they're checking every week, even if one of these rises to the top, they're still going to get knocked down. Those points are going to go to somebody else. The days are gone of that 1,500 point Starvo lead, right? Because they never accounted for that 580 something points that went to him. I think originally wanted that to go to another person or a hero. So they really, when they were over, they've lost, let's call it 600, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They probably lost 1,500 points ballparking across the people who have already living legend because they got over that 1,000 point threshold.
Yeah.
So they might be making up for some spare time here trying to get to the roster, because you got 37 valid heroes at this moment.
What it does is it allows for heroes to stay into a meta for longer. I think a lot of people, they were pleasantly surprised of that, because when I was at my RTN just this last weekend, I did not I was just like, okay, cool, I'm gonna go in and play, and like people were playing Zen because they were just like, this is it, no more Zen after this. Like this week Zen's gonna be gone, it's not gonna happen. And I was just like, well, if we're doing the point system, like it depends on how many Zens win for one. Like Zen's still a very powerful hero and can still win, but it depends on how many win compared to the other heroes in the format. And Zen only got 12 points so far in the season.
And Viscerai got 47. I mean, Enigma's got 43. Prism's got 46. So those 3 heroes. So
effectively, like what you want to take a look at, right, is these top 3 heroes that gained points this season, right? You have Zen, Viscerai, and Azalea, right? Let's just like keep those in that situation. If you multiply those points there by 4, who LLs and who does not? Like even if you multiplied Zen's by 4, Zen is still still not hit living legend.
Yeah.
Viscerai will hit living legend. And Azalea will not hit living legend.
Correct.
So if any of these 3 heroes are leaving the meta in this season specifically,
Viscerai,
it would probably be Viscerai. Viscerai is like key for it, unless everybody week 3 of RTN season
shifts
collectively decides to go, hey, everybody play Dash IE. Everybody collectively play Dash IE. If you go against the Dash IE, concede your match. And then just let Dash IE win, right? Like, but there's not hate for the hero. right? So it's not like this big thing like it was with like Rosetta Thorn with Briar, right? People were just like, let Briar LL, so Runeblades didn't have Rosetta Thorn to be able to be played.
Sure.
And it eventually happened. But in this situation, more specifically, it looks like the only hero that is going to LL this RTN season, unless that Enigma number becomes insanely high, like really high comparatively, Viserai is the only one that is going to LL this hunted season. Unless, of course, any of these heroes like Zen or Azalea win 2 callings or the Pro Tour, right? Pro Tour London, if that happens or something of the sort, right? Like if those things occur and that allows for those heroes to get up there, that's completely different. But you can also take a look at how many points Syndra got this RTN season. 133, not just RTNs, but obviously with the calling wins and the battle hardened wins that she just got.
That was
133, and she just came out. I mean, like literally just came out like 2 weeks ago.
That's kind of they will self-regulate as this goes. But if something's really popular and people are playing it, it means that they'll win on it or could win on it. Right? So
the ratio is who's playing what, and is that ratio big enough to make it to top 8 and then win? Like, you know, like I said, like there was I think what was it? There was a whole community during the last ProQuest season, or maybe it was the one beforehand, where like they went to go to ProQuest and everybody played Fi. Like collectively, they got the local community of this area to only play Fi. And
that's
like
funny.
They got points on Fi. Somebody got points on Fi during that season because of it. And like that's how like technically this can be manipulated pretty hard if it was theoretically like, you know,
I mean, I want to learn
but
Betsy just to get some points on the board with Betsy. I want to learn Jarl's doing pretty good already, so I don't think that would be. I mean, Tekla Vossen in general, I want to be good with Tekla Vossen so I can get some Tekla Vossen points on the board. But again, like I said, those are some pipe dreams for me. The one I really want to redo is I think Cavdan from the Young, and then I really wanted to play with either Max Nitro or Melody or Genus because none of those currently have any points, and it would just be cool to be like, hey, I got them on the leaderboard at least. Like that would be. But I don't know which events play Blitz. Like that's kind of my problem at the moment. I don't know who.
Well, the only time you're getting points on heroes for Blitz is during skirmish season. That's it.
Okay.
But
I need to look for a
they are
skirmish
increasing
season.
the amount of skirmishes in a year, so the opportunity for that is pretty high.
I would love to find a way to make, hey, here everybody, play this Melody deck. Just 20 of them in a skirmish.
I'm telling you, like if it's something that you and your local group are able to make happen, like it's a fun little thing to do. But at least like with Blitz, it's a lot more like fun, casual thing. Like, you know, you get your name on the leaderboard, that's cool. But it's you know, the Living Legend leaderboard can't be manipulated, but in most cases it is simply just what deck is most popular and what deck is consistent enough to keep winning games. And currently what we can see based on this hunted season, it looks like Syndra has just like the most points out of everything, even though technically 100 of those points are really just callings and battle hardened stuff. So
well,
it's interesting.
What do you got? I think we can start wrapping things up here. Anything you want to jump on, comment, go down, tweak? What you got?
I don't know. I mean, like, keep you know, if you guys are going to an RTN this month, hopefully you have a lot of fun at the RTN. I know they're great times. You know, we actually got gem packs at our RTN, which like you're not supposed to do, but we did.
Really?
So yeah, it was it's funny. Real like side note before we like continue finalizing this, but like one of the stores I go to, they not only gave everybody, all like 42 participants, a gem pack at RTN, which like they're gonna run out of their allocation within like a like half a week now.
Well, if they only got one box, it's a 50 pack, isn't it? So I mean, maybe they got two. I don't know.
They probably got two because they have pretty high attendance. But even still, that's almost a carton for one event. And on top of it, fun fact is that we were also given gem packs at our fun commoner event that is not an armory. So,
but I thought the stores could do as they pleased with the community.
They can, but I'm just saying that like they're meant for armory pricing is what it's. They can do what they please in regards to how they give them out for armories. Gotcha. Like if they want to make it a top 3 get packs, or if they want to do a participation prize, or if they want to do raffles. But like they're meant to support the pricing for your armory. Gotcha. And we just have people give them out. So
well, I think at this point I'm going to have to work with several people to try and actually complete the thing I want to complete, which is I want to get the artworks. You know, we already had one.
All the ones who were the heroes for it.
I've heard there is a Emperor. I've heard there's a Kano, I think.
Yep.
And then there is a Azuri, if I heard correctly. So I think there's only 3.
Typanis.
Oh, Typanis is in there too. Okay.
Typanis is in there too. That's the 4th.
I will definitely say that we had one person already hit the Azuri and then promptly turned around and sold it for like $250. So that was kind of unbelievable, I guess. But
sounds about right.
And I don't think these are like booster, like in the thing, right? Like it's completely random. So I don't know. Like, is there like there's not like one Azuri per like 50 count. Like I don't know how that works. So it could be you get nothing in your 50 count, but I'm gonna have to figure out a way to start packing on the events because there's by the time the next set comes out, it'd be Gem Pack 2. So there's a limited window to get these, and I don't know if there's a real good way. I mean, even if it's a 2-month window, right? And you go to one event a week, that's 8 gym packs, theoretically. So the average casual-ish person may be able to get 8. And if you go to 2 a week, if you're really hardcore, you're up to 16, right? But even that is not enough to complete a full one of these sets.
I'm going to be entirely honest. There's going to be a lot of these on the market because with the amount of people who are attending these, like there's not going to be a gem pack that is not opened outside of people who are keeping them sealed for their own purpose. But like most people are opening them. And when they open them, the opportunity is weird. Much higher, right?
I'm keeping one for my sealed collection, and then the next ones I get, I'm opening. But like, I wanted to make sure I at least had one sealed because I feel like long term, it's going to be really hard to track one of those down sealed. It's kind of like the gold pack, I'm keeping one of those sealed because it's a unique piece of fab history. But realistically, it's like the judge packs. I would love to get me some judge packs, but holy crap, I'm not paying those prices. No, sir.
No, I mean, like, but with the gem pack allocations and everything, like, you're going to be able to get most of the set because it isn't in rainbow of most of these. They're just in reds for most of the cards. So like, you don't really have to worry so much about like specifically hunting down like a rainbow version of each one. And with only 32 cards in a set, going to be pretty simple to find.
And to be honest with you, I was going to say, I personally don't really, I mean, in this particular set, I do not care as much about the cards because they are ones that are for classes that are, if they were mech cards, boy, I'd be 5 days a week trying to find an armory, right? Like, right? That's me gonna go broke joke. Like that's because I want them. I don't think there's a generic in this. I thought there'd be at least one generic.
There is a generic.
Oh, it is Calming Breeze. I see. There's one.
Well, there's 2.
Oh, there is? What's the other one?
Yeah. Razor Reflex with the pink strip.
Okay.
Which I got at my gem pack last week.
And is it non-foil?
Yeah, it's non-foil.
Okay. There's no TCG data on them, so I can't really.
Yep. Yeah. Razor Reflex, Pink Strip, and Calming Breeze are the 2 generics. The rest of them are pretty much, it's mostly Assassin and Draconic Warrior, Draconic
$20.
There's 2 Draconic Ninja cards, 2 Draconic Warrior stuffs. The cold foils for these kunais and the daggers and stuff, these are going for a lot.
Yeah, 135, 108,
yeah,
150.
Expensive. So if you happen to pull a cold foil, which there might be one in that gem pack that you have.
You know what's funny? There's a Mark of the Huntsman in here, which isn't that the thing they're complaining about. So there's also gem packs version of this, right?
No. Mark of the Huntsman is the token dagger. Hunter's Clave is the card that they're complaining about.
Because is that an older card reprinted then?
Hunter's Clave?
No, Mark of the Huntsman.
No, Mark of the Huntsman is the new dagger.
Brand
It's
new.
a new dagger that came. It's the token dagger for Arachne, and
Oh, got it. So this is just a fancier. It's either probably a cold foil.
quite
of it?
literally the only difference between Mark of the Huntsman and Hunter's Clave is that Mark of the Huntsman does not have piercing, and if it hits the opponent, they have to destroy the dagger in order for them to mark them.
Oh, there's two
as opposed
different
to
ones.
Hunter's
There's a right
Glaive.
and a left. There's a 7 and a 6.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. Ugh, the completionist in me is jittering.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the cold foils in the Marvel are going to be the hardest cards to get out of this set. Outside of that, everything else is very attainable. You just got to get
Sure.
one in non-foil, one in foil. Some people don't even want to keep it if they already have the card. They're just like, sure, I'll take it, like whatever.
Well, if you'd
And
like
then,
to
of course, like, the art
donate your
cards, too.
artwork cards to us, we will gladly begin to collate a set of creating those for our binder collection. Because I think
Absolutely.
it'd be really beautiful to have, because I mean, they really started it with, I know Rosetta has them, and building those out, building the next ones out. Like I feel like that will be a cool binder just to have. Like I got a binder set aside starting this. Like I'm going to start building each of those, and
I mean,
think
that's what I plan to do. Is I plan to get, because effectively what you can do if a binder has if you take a 360 count binder, I got to do the math on that. Hold on.
divided by 9.
Yeah. So if we do a 360 count binder, if we know that there are 4 full art heroes with their things, that's going to be 4 pages. So 4 times 9
So it'd be 10
is 36 slots. And then, of course, we have 32 cards in the set total. But that's if you're just going to put like the rainbow foils in there. If you're also going to add in the non-foil versions of the cards, then there's technically an additional 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So there's another 22 that are the non-foil versions. So there's 90 cards total, which means that you can fill 10 pages for the entirety of the first part of this gem pack.
So you'd be able to get, if they keep it the same, that'd be 4 gem packs for 1 binder, as in the first 4 could fit in 1 binder for a completionist.
If they keep the same level,
Structure.
it means that you can fit essentially an entire year's worth of the gem packs in 1 binder.
That's a goal. That's a goal.
And that's on Master Set collecting. Don't get an addiction like I do. I have a problem.
Master Set madness.
This is not. I have a problem. You don't need to have this problem. Save yourself, because I can't. So
I think I'm gonna settle for, I want the hero arts, and unless there's a card like specifically, because I'm a big fan of generics. I believe in generics. I definitely want the. I mean, I didn't know it was $20 a piece, but the Calming Breeze Red, I'd get my 3 of those, because I still don't have the stupid unmovable that has the dwarves on it, because I need to pick those up, because that's a probably expensive card. How much is that now?
The unmovables are probably not that bad.
Oh, I'm sure they're the extended art one. $100, not bad, my ass.
That's not bad.
$100.
You only need 1 copy.
That's still. There's only 1 person on the entire internet selling it right now.
And then it's probably not worth $100. I think what's insane is how many of these extended art rainbow foils are going for on the gem pack. I'm just seeing all these other ones. Hunt to the Ends of Wraith, $10. March of Loyalty, $15. Calming Breeze, $20. These cards do not need to be this price.
Does not need. All right.
Well, that's it. Anyway, we rambled about gem packs for another 30 minutes. Stay safe. Continue to, be awesome. Keep an eye out for more Commoner Clash stuff on my channel, and
we'll have to coordinate and see if we can get. We'll have to reach out to a couple people. That'd be kind of fun to do some long distance chats. I think that'd be really fun. So,
for sure. Cool.
All right. Well, until next time, may games be fun and your friendships grow. Cheers, and enjoy your armory events and gem packs. They're doing their thing, obviously. So,
Go to your armory.
bye.
Bye, everybody.